Rutene, kia ora. How are you doing today?
Kia ora, I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Now, we're going to be talking about your new show, Be Like Billy. But before we do, I just noticed in the press information, it says that you're a part-time mischief maker. And I just wonder if you could explain that to me. What's going on there? How did you earn that reputation?
I think, and sometimes it's more full-time mischief maker. I think
Yeah, go
it's
on.
it's the label that well, it's the kind of term I use. Maybe it's a license that I use in the way I uh, like discover or work in this kind of realm of storytelling, and that's the kind of approach that I like to take. Is this mischiefness is like that's where you draw the play and the fun from. So I mean, it used to say, what is it, full-time storyteller, part-time piss taker, but I thought that didn't have it as enough merit or enough mana in it. So I was like, definitely mischief maker, definitely.
So tell me about Be Like Billy. So it's a cabaret show, and it's inspired and paying tribute to comedian and entertainer Billy T. James. So what was it about him that really appealed to you? Because I can tell that he had quite an impact on you.
Yeah, I think it's that satire, like he was. It's the element of satire that the 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 truth in which, however it's offended or maybe celebrated, the truth in which he pulled it from, a man who really clearly, and the deeper I dove, the really clearly see his influences and was a technician, like at the, was an engineer of comedy at the time. All the influences from his time in the UK with the Volcanics. Funnily enough, what blew him up was he was a ring-in for the Māori Volcanics, and at the same time as I was being commissioned, became a ring-in for the Modern Māori Quartet. So we were we were running along a similar path, and so even when I spent my time in the UK with the quartet, I did the same thing. Went to go and see a whole lot, as much comedy, English comedy, as much cabaret as possible. And I just think there's so many things. I mean, I don't have a PhD. I know there is a guy who's got a PhD in Billy T, but there's so many facets to him, the way he worked and the person he was that I find really interesting. Really interesting.
And now it is a cabaret show, and it's got that big band sound. And in the press, it refers to the show band era, and of course there were a lot of Māori performers in that era. So Howard Morrison, Sir John Rolls, Frankie Stevens, I suppose even Prince Tuiteka kind of was in that kind of space. So there is a really strong connection to that big band sound and Maori music, which I think is really exciting. And is that something that's appealed to you as well? Have you looked at that legacy and want to continue it, as I guess the Modern Māori Quartet continues that?
Yeah, absolutely, and particularly in the show, there is no way when I started writing it, there's no way I could focus on just Billy without seeing what kind of how he tied into the tapestry of that time, and so we do acknowledge. I call it the golden era of Maori music, the show band era, and we do, I've got Henare Carr as my musical director for his Christchurch-based incredible muso, and we've really taken the time to make sure the textures of the music are very, nod to that time. There's obviously a mix of basically the show's bookended by a couple of my original songs, and then one of my original songs that's a tent pole in the middle, but everything else is a hit for nostalgia. And we're really intent on how to which songs we chose and the kind of flavors in which of that time that we wanted to represent. Um, but yeah, no, you can't really do a show about Billy T without touching on um, that show band flair.
Yeah, definitely. Now you're part of the Modern Māori Quartet, who've had amazing success, and the group is just extraordinary. The talent is great. What I love about those shows is obviously the singing and the energy, but there's personality that comes into it. There's a cheekiness in it. There's yeah, as I say, personality. There's humor. There's flair. So I'm assuming that you are going to recreate that. That's part of what the show for you is about as well, bringing that unique look at the world, presenting fantastic music, but also having fun with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's the beauty of cabaret, and I think that's if I did do a PhD, I'd kind of highlight that the beauty of cabaret and why I think many of our artists, Maori artists of the time, really lent into cabarets because it's a form that's very familiar to Maoridom. And if you look at the structure of cabaret, it's a direct address, it's the yarn, and we know very much on the marae and stuff. If your yarn is dumb and it dries up, ain't nobody going to listen to you. So you really learn that habit of tying people along with story and be very honest about it. And I think in that honesty, it's endearing, and people can go. You can afford to push a conversation a little bit more because they get a bit of an idea who you are. And I think that's why it's very much. I mean, we say it's a cabaret come theatre show, and the theatre show mainly because it has an overarching story and it uses some of the devices, but it very much sits in that cabaret world of this is me, this is you, this is my band. Let's talk about this thing. Let's have a laugh. Let's have a think about really how applicable some of that stuff is now. But I love it. Yeah, I absolutely love it. And that's the stuff I wouldn't have been able to uh, kind of throw down. That's the kind of things I wouldn't be able to do had I not spent all these years with the Modern Māori Quartet. They really introduced me to the form of cabaret. If not themselves, by being overseas, Matariki Whaturai, one of the founding members, he and I, it's one of our favorite pastimes, go to see as much cabaret as possible. How simple or how extravagant it was, just whatever we could see. And so we definitely come back to Aotearoa and go, oh, how do we make cabaret now? How do we make cabaret now? How does it stand up to the rest of the world? And so that's kind of every effort at the moment.
You mentioned Matariki Whataro there, and he's a mischief maker.
Absolutely.
Do you think you're more or less of a mischief maker than he?
I think everybody, all of us in this quartet are mischief makers, and I think the kind of mischief varies. But when you put it all together, it can get it can be quite magical, I think, anyway. And that's the kumara talking for its
Yeah,
sweetness.
absolutely.
But you get in, you feel this energy, and it's great. He's very much I want to call it the stealth kind of mischief maker.
Yeah. Hey, final couple of things. So you're big into musical theatre. Do you have a favourite musical?
Look, I'm old school when it comes to music theatre. I love all.
Yeah.
There's some really great stuff coming out now, and I think it's really shaking up the form. But I will never ever go past a classic West Side Story. And it's the musical I would watch with my eyes closed as well. Uh,
Yeah. Mine is 42nd Street. Actually,
are you a bit of tap
all
dancing
that
yourself?
No, no, I have absolutely no talent. I can ask questions. That's about it. But no, I had the flu once in Sydney, and I had gone to see the show, and it was so uplifting.
Yeah.
And fantastic that at the end of the show, I felt like I'd taken a packet of pseudoephedrine because I just felt so high. My flu symptoms had gone, at least for the night. So, that's the thing about musical theatre, isn't it? It can challenge us, but it can uplift us in so many great ways. Hey, final question then for you: do you have a favourite go-to comfort food?
A favorite go-to comfort food? Is that the question?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Look, I do, and I can't partake very often. I mean, there's all the beautiful comfort foods of home that you just know. I'm going to visit my mum in a couple of weeks, and she's picking some watercress, and those are standard comfort foods. But a comfort food for me is a lime thick shake. When I just want the
Wow.
world to just pause, there is one place here on Te Atitu Peninsula that I just grab me a lime thick shake and have a sit down. Yeah.
Wow.
What about yours?
Well, that sounds good. It's on the bad side, it's probably cheesels, and on the good side, it's probably pasta. You know, like a fettuccine alfredo or something. Yeah.
Mm.
But cheesels are so bad. But it's the crunch. You know? Yeah. Nobody. I ask everybody that question. Nobody's actually asked me back in return. So well done.
I know cheesels are good, and I think cheesels is
Yeah.
a, it's a, cheesels pop up now and again. I think, oh, I want that to be licking the the contaminants
Yeah,
off
of
my
the fingers.
fingers.
Yeah, but they stain them though, don't they? They stain the fingers. They do.
Yeah,
Hey, Rutene, lovely to talk to you, and all the best for the show. Looking forward to seeing it.
yeah. Thank you very much for having me. Take care.